My parents took $150,000 from my account to pay my brother's debt. I grabbed my phone, opened the banking app, and nearly dropped it. My stomach twisted. My savings account gone. Not a damn cent left. The number that had once given me security, stability, had turned into a big, fat zero. I blinked hard, thinking maybe the app glitched. Maybe the bank was doing maintenance. I refreshed the page. Still zero. My pulse pounded in my ears. No way this was right. I had spent years building that account, putting away money bit by bit, planning for a house, emergencies, a future. My transaction history told the whole nightmare. One single withdrawal, 150 grand, completely drained. My gut clenched. That money wasn't just savings. That was my safety net, my backup plan for when life threw a curveball. First thought? Fraud. Someone hacked me. My hands shook as I dialed the bank's customer service. Stupid automated voice asking me for my account number, verifying my identity, putting me on hold. Finally, a woman picked up. Didn't catch her name. Didn't care. Look, my savings account was just wiped. I didn't authorize anything. She pulled up my records, her voice infuriatingly calm. Sir, the withdrawal was made by a legal account holder. My grip tightened around the phone. Excuse me? The funds were transferred by your co-trustees. My stomach sank. My co-trustees. My parents. Years ago, when I set up the account, I'd linked it to the family trust. Made sense at the time. Back then, I trusted them. I never imagined they'd actually touch it. Are you telling me my parents took my money? Yes, sir. As co-trustees, they had legal access to the account. The transfer was authorized. My vision blurred with rage. She kept talking, but I wasn't listening. I hung up and immediately dialed my mom. My jaw clenched as I waited for her to pick up. She answered on the third ring, her voice as sweet as ever. Mom, my bank account is empty. No shock. No guilt. Just a casual, oh, Jake, we meant to talk to you about that. Talk to me? Like they had borrowed $20 for gas. Where's my money? She sighed, like I was the unreasonable one. We took it for Tyler. He was struggling, honey. We had to help him. Tyler, my brother, the golden boy, the family screw-up who never faced consequences. I felt the ground shift beneath me. That was my money. Jake, it's family. Tyler needed us. Needed us? No, he needed to get his act together. I gritted my teeth. What for? What was so urgent that you had to take every cent? Dad chimed in before she could answer. He got himself in trouble, okay? He took out a private loan, one of those high-interest ones. He was going to lose his car, his apartment. We had no choice. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. No choice? He dug himself into a hole, and you used my money to pull him out. Mom exhaled, like I was a child throwing a tantrum. We didn't want him to ruin his life. The debt collectors were already calling. 150 grand, years of hard work gone. And they acted like I lost loose change under the couch. Something inside me snapped. This wasn't over. I paced my apartment, gripping my phone so hard my knuckles turned white. My own parents had wiped out my savings, and they didn't even care. To them, my hard-earned money was just some family slush fund they could dip into whenever Tyler screwed up. No warning, no discussion, just gone, like it was theirs to take. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Letting this slide would mean giving them permission to do it again, and knowing my parents, they absolutely would. I took a deep breath, then called Matt. Matt was a lawyer and had been my best friend since college. If anyone could tell me my options, it was him. He picked up on the first ring, and I didn't waste time. I laid it all out. The bank statement, the trust fund, my parents acting like I should just accept it and move on. There was a long pause before he finally spoke. Dude, legally, they had access. But this? This is straight up messed up. He broke it down. Sure, my parents were co-trustees, but that didn't mean they could raid my account like it was their personal ATM. There were legal expectations of trust and fiduciary responsibility. They had technically used a loophole, but morally, they had steamrolled my trust and didn't even blink. Matt didn't hold back. Jake, this is a textbook case of breach of fiduciary duty. You can demand they return the money, and if they refuse, you can take legal action. I hesitated. Suing my parents? Just saying it in my head made my stomach churn. But then I remember my mom's voice, so casual, so entitled, like my years of working and saving meant nothing because Tyler had screwed up his life again. They're never going to give it back willingly, I muttered. Matt sighed. Then make them. He laid out a plan. Step 1. Send a formal legal demand for repayment plus interest. If they ignored it, we'd escalate. I had rights, and Matt was ready to back me up. I rubbed my temples, trying to process everything. They were my parents. This wasn't some scammer draining my account or a shady boss refusing to cut my check. This was my own flesh and blood. But if I let this slide, they'd see me as an easy target. Next time, it wouldn't just be $150,000. It would be everything. Matt's voice was firm. Jake, you worked too damn hard to let this go. He was right. My parents had made their choice. Now, I had to make mine. I exhaled sharply. Send the notice. Let's see how they react. If they thought I was going to roll over and take it, they were dead wrong. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about respect. The pounding on my door started just after noon. Loud, sharp, insistent. The kind that didn't come from someone dropping by for a friendly visit. I already knew who it was before I even checked. I opened the door, and there they were, my parents, both furious, my mother gripping a stack of papers so tightly her knuckles were white. My father's face was red with anger, jaw clenched so hard I thought his teeth might crack. And right behind them, lurking like he wished he was anywhere else, was Tyler. My mother shoved a legal notice into my chest. What the hell is this? You sent us a legal demand? To your own family. I kept my face neutral, my voice steady. And family steals money without asking? My father's nostrils flared. That money was for family. Tyler needed help. We did what we had to do. I folded my arms. You didn't help him. You stole from me. Tyler finally spoke up, his voice defensive but uncertain. I didn't ask for this, man. They made that decision on their own. I let out a sharp laugh, shaking my head. But you didn't turn it down either, did you? You knew exactly where that money came from, and you took it. My mother's eyes filled with tears. The same act she pulled whenever things weren't going her way. Jake, how could you do this to us? Do you have any idea what this will do to our family? We'll be ruined. I took a step forward, lowering my voice so only they could hear. You ruined it when you took what wasn't yours. Don't put that on me. My father's fists clenched at his sides, his face twisting with frustration. This is ridiculous. You're really going to drag us into court over money? You're our son. No, I shot back. I'm the son you stole from. Big difference. Tyler groaned, rubbing a hand down his face. Look, this is all spiraling out of control. We can figure something out. I turned to him, my patience long gone. You want to fix it? Then fix it. Get my money back. Every cent. Because I'm done talking. The silence that followed was thick with tension. My mother sniffled dramatically, dabbing at imaginary tears. My father glared at me like he didn't recognize me anymore. Tyler just looked exhausted, but I didn't care. I gave them one final look. 3 days. Give it back, plus interest. Or we go to court. I shut the door in their faces before they could argue. They had made their choices. Now they had to live with them. The next morning, my phone rang. My dad's name lit up the screen. I let it go to voicemail. He called again, then again. On the fourth call I picked up, already bracing myself. His voice was different this time. Too calm, calculated. He wasn't yelling, wasn't pleading. He had a new strategy. Okay, you want to go to war? Fine. Take us to court. It was just a mistaken transfer between family members. You think any judge is going to waste their time on this? I leaned against the kitchen counter, gripping my phone. He wasn't wrong. Legally, they could drag this out for months, maybe even years. They had time. They had money for lawyers. I had neither. You really want to do this, Dad? I asked. He exhaled sharply. We're your parents. You think we were just going to leave your brother drowning? He needed help. I scoffed. And I needed my money. And you knew that. But that didn't stop you, did it? It's not like we stole from a stranger. He shot back. It's all within the family. Mistakes happen. I felt my jaw tighten. A mistake is an accident. What you did was deliberate. Silence. Then he laughed, low and bitter. You always were dramatic. I needed a new plan. I let out a breath, forcing my voice to stay level. You want to play games? Fine. If the courts take too long, let's see how this plays out another way. He scoffed. What the hell does that mean? It means everyone is going to know exactly what kind of people you are. Friends, extended family, your country club buddies, your co-workers. You want to talk about reputations? Let's talk about how you stole from your own son. Silence. I imagine him gripping his phone, his face turning red. My mom's voice came through the line, softer but shaking. Jake, please don't do this. We're family. Family doesn't do what you did. Another pause. Then my dad's voice, lower, controlled. You wouldn't... I let out a short laugh. Try me. They built their whole lives around looking perfect. The generous couple. The respectable parents. The ones who did everything for the family. If their friends found out what they had done, they'd be humiliated. Jake, my mom tried again, her voice breaking. We didn't think you'd react like this, because you thought I'd roll over and take it. You thought I wouldn't fight back. She sniffled. This could destroy our family. No, I said, voice steady. You destroyed it when you decided my savings was your personal bailout fund. Another long silence. Then my dad's voice, harder now. You think you can blackmail us? I exhaled, shaking my head. It's not blackmail if it's the truth, and it's only a problem if you care what people think. More silence. This time longer. They were realizing I wasn't bluffing. 3 days, I said, finality in my tone. Then I start talking. The line went dead. I set my phone down, staring at it. They thought they could intimidate me, manipulate me. They just made the worst mistake of their lives. 2 days passed. No calls. No messages. Nothing. Then, on the 3rd day, my phone rang. It was Tyler. I almost let it go to voicemail, but curiosity got the better of me. I answered, half expecting him to be defensive or angry like our parents. Instead, his voice was different, low, hesitant. Look, man, I get it. You're pissed. I would be too. But I'm trying to fix this. I didn't respond. I wanted to see where he was going with this. I can't pay it all back at once. But I got a job. I swear. It's not much, but I can start paying you back in installments. I nearly laughed. Tyler had never worked a serious job in his life. The guy coasted through everything, relying on our parents to bail him out every time. Now he expected me to believe he had suddenly found a work ethic? You don't trust me, I get it. But I'm willing to put it in writing. Legal, binding, whatever you need to feel secure about it. I just don't want this to drag out in court. I still wasn't convinced. But I knew one thing for sure. Dragging this through a long legal battle wasn't in my favor either. I needed my money back. I called Matt. He didn't hesitate. If he's serious, make him sign a formal repayment agreement. No verbal promises, no I swear, bro. If it's not on paper, it doesn't count. We set up a meeting at Matt's office that afternoon. When Tyler walked in, he actually looked different, tired, but not in his usual hungover way. There was something else, like he actually felt the weight of what had happened. Matt had already drawn up the paperwork. Simple, clear. Tyler was legally committing to repaying every cent in monthly installments, with penalties if he missed payments. If he defaulted, I could take immediate legal action. Tyler read through it, nodded, and signed. Just like that. I stared at the document, still half expecting him to back out, to make an excuse. But he didn't. Then our parents found out. My mother's voice shook over the phone. "Jake, how could you do this to him? To us? You forced your own brother to sign a contract. You forced me to do this the second you took my money." Dad was furious. "You put your own brother in a corner, like some kind of criminal? After everything we've done for you, everything you've done for me?" I repeated, "You mean stealing from me? Lying to me? Calling it a mistake when you got caught?" Silence. For once, they had nothing to say. Tyler spoke up quietly. "It's fine. I signed it. I'm going to pay him back." Mom sounded like she was crying. "You didn't have to do this. We could have figured something out." Tyler sighed. "No, we wouldn't have." I hung up, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Control. For once, I wasn't the one getting screwed over. And this time, they all knew it. A month passed. Then, like clockwork, an envelope arrived in the mail. I tore it open, half expecting some excuse, some delay. Instead, there it was, the first repayment check from Tyler. It wasn't much, just a fraction of what he owed, but it was real. Proof that, for once, he was following through. I deposited it and waited. The next month, another check arrived, and then another. Word around town was that Tyler was actually working. Like, really working. Waking up at 4 a.m. to unload trucks at a warehouse, then picking up shift as a bartender on weekends. No more parties, no more bailouts. Just work. At first, I didn't believe it. I figured he'd burn out in a week, go back to his usual ways, find some excuse to stop paying. But he didn't. I ran into an old friend at the grocery store. He worked at the same warehouse as Tyler. "Man, your brother's killing himself over there. Shows up early, stays late. Never thought I'd see the day. Neither did I." Still, a part of me wondered, was this real change or just another act? Then my mother called. Not my father, him. I hadn't heard from since the last argument. She didn't waste time with pleasantries. "I just hope you don't actually believe this will last." I exhaled, already exhausted. "What do you want, Mom?" "He's doing this to prove a point. But he'll crack soon. And when he does, what then? You gonna leave your brother out in the cold?" I leaned against my kitchen counter, gripping the phone. "He's making his own choices now. Maybe you should let him." She huffed. "You think we don't know what you're doing? You're trying to cut yourself off." "No, I'm making sure you never take from me again." There was silence on the other end. Then she spoke again, her voice quieter. "That's not fair." I let out a dry laugh. "Fair? Was it fair when you drained my account? Was it fair when you called it a family mistake and expected me to move on?" She didn't have an answer. "I'm done," I said simply. "You'll never get another cent from me. Not now. Not ever." She didn't respond, just breathed heavily into the phone. "Goodbye, Mom." I hung up before she could say another word. For the first time, I felt free. And for the first time, they knew it too. Months passed, and I finally started to feel like I had moved on. Tyler kept making his payments, and against all odds, he hadn't slipped up. I no longer felt the need to check in on him or expect some kind of disaster. He had stepped up in a way I never thought possible. Then my phone rang. My dad. I stared at the screen for a long moment, debating if I should even answer. The last time we had spoken, it hadn't gone well. But something in me was curious. I picked up. He didn't waste time. He wanted to meet. I agreed, mostly out of curiosity. We met at a small diner, the kind of place we used to go when I was a kid. It was a strange choice, nostalgic in a way that didn't sit right with me. He looked older than I remembered, more tired. He slid an envelope across the table. "It's not the full amount," he said, "but it's a gesture." I opened it. A check. 10 grand. Part of me wanted to push it back, tell him it was too little, too late. But another part of me knew this was as close to an apology as I was ever going to get. My father wasn't the kind of man to say he was wrong. This was his way of admitting it without the words. I pocketed the check. "This doesn't change anything," I said. "You understand that, right?" He nodded, looking down at his coffee. "I know." It wasn't closure. Not really. But it was something. A week later, I checked my bank account. Tyler had made another payment, and according to my calculations, he had already repaid half of what he owed. I never thought I'd say it, but I was actually proud of him. That night, I sat in my apartment, thinking about everything that had happened. The trust was broken, maybe permanently, but we had all changed. My parents had lost their hold on me. Tyler had finally taken responsibility for himself, and I had learned that I was capable of standing up for myself. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like the kid they could manipulate anymore. I was free.